What is it you think people who are not homeless? What would it help them to learn about people who live on the street?
It would actually be a very good idea, and what I find very interesting, um, that is if you decide, and I tell people this all the time, is if you really want to know what it's like a day in the life of us, what we're going through and everything, just take an oversized backpack and take a tarp, roll up your tarp and attach it to the backpack, and just walk around. Just walk around, maybe even like take the bus to, because buses will usually go from one city and it'll go around the county. Go to a different city altogether. Walk around and see how the police treat you. See how, like, from everything. Because you'll be surprised. You'll think, a lot of people say, "Oh, I'd be too scared." And it's like, the one place you don't want to fear and you shouldn't have to fear and you won't need to fear are the streets. They say, well, there's a lot of bad out there. And what I've noticed of people, especially a lot of drug users, a lot of them, they might be on the streets, but where they get the access is to the people that are living inside that are ashamed to and can't do their stuff around their family or whatever, so they go out and they give it freely to the people on the streets. Because street people don't have money for drugs. We ain't got money for drugs. We can afford beer, cigarettes, and some of us that smoke medicina. That is about it, and maybe even that. Like,
Well,
and food. I go after food, so I'm not.
statistically, I mean, the higher statistic of the drug seller is more of somebody who's a white male in his mid-30s living in a home.
Which I would like to see the war on drugs not be street drugs, but pharmaceuticals, because that is the number one drug company. They're the drug dealers. But something also, I said, the reason, and what I've noticed is a lot of people that do drugs, whatever it is, whether it's pharmaceutical, they abuse something, into abusing substances. I say a lot of times that is your way of dealing with things that you have no control over, and you think you have no control over. You're like, I'm stuck at this dead-end job, or I'm stuck in this city, this state, this whatever. There's these factors that you feel is suppressed by, but life is to be enjoyed. I'd like to think of it as adding ice to a glass of tea.
Right.
You don't have to have it, but it could make it better if it's a hot day and you want cold iced tea. It could make things alleviate, because when you even, and this is anybody, we have all things coming at us at all times, all given times. Someone, even on top of everything you got to worry about, your physical body, the emotional, spiritual, mental. You also have somebody and your job and your school and your kids and your family. You got all these factors. You still got people that think about you occasionally. They're like, oh, I really hated that person, and like you got this bad energy. You have all these things that it's nice at the end of the day to just let it all go so that you can have peace of mind. But if somebody is already hooked on a substance, they're talking about they're having problems with this substance, alcohol or whatever. I'm thinking, wow, that's something that's not just certain factors, obviously, those whatever, family or whatever, that's making them feel like they have to take on this substance, but it's an addiction. An addiction is not something that you're just going to kick, and usually with most people, they end up picking up one addiction for another. When I was considering, because I had a problem with alcoholism, when I was considering actually kicking it in the butt, like, I'm done with alcohol, and I am now, but when I first thought of it, when I first considered it, I actually Googled number one way to get buzzed. Natural way to be buzzed, high, high on, when people say I'm high on life, that kind of thing. When I looked that up, the number one thing that it had said was act like a kid again. And there's times, because I know a lot about colds. Like if somebody's sick, I know a lot of stuff that's like quick survival. It's not just survival medicine, but it's something that like a street person can access anywhere, and it's no big deal. Because that's what actually means a lot. It's not, that is survival at its finest. Is that it's like, oh, you don't have to worry about going to the doctor. You don't have to worry about taking these antibiotics. I'll suggest certain things. When I walk into, I've been in the position where I've had serious, I spent years and years and years dealing with having sinusitis, sinus infection, 4 times a year. That's hard. I was down 4 times a year, really bad to a head cold. And I'm in this aisle where they have all the Mucinex and everything, but in this aisle they had something that I was looking at that wasn't actually over-the-counter prescription medications. It was something completely different. And I was like, this is kind of weird. But there was a man and a woman, and she had grabbed, I think it was like Mucinex or something, and the gentleman next to her was like, hey, so does that actually work? I was curious. And I said, it really helps. And I suggested a few things. And they just completely discredited it. They just completely acted like they stopped. And so I knew that they had heard me. So they weren't like completely ignoring me. They were just like, I just want to know about this. It's like, oh, I'm sorry. You wanted to get high. My bad. What I've suggested, because I think I suggested the neti pot. Uh-huh. I was like, oh, I'm sorry. The neti pot's not going to get you high. My bad. You just want to get fucked up, bro. So I found another way, a better way, an actual way. When you can get your mind to rest.
Do you have the level of safety to do that?
Not me, but most people have it. You can actually take that time, and whenever you put your mind in a good place, and then you go to sleep, your body will actually take over. As long as your mind isn't trying to stop, your body will heal itself when you sleep. But a lot of times we are stressed out and worried to the point where your mind is racing even when you're sleeping. Your body was just made for you to survive. And it's not saying you're supposed to get 100 years, though. But when is it, because I've lived for so long with this illness that, it comes down to quality or quantity of years. Right now, I'd give up my quantity of years for some good quality years. I need that safety and security that you get with family. Unfortunately, when you go home, when you see your folks, when you a lot of the foods that I've switched to now are actually in Hawaii. I've switched to stuff like avocado. I eat coconut everything. I'll eat coconut oil by the spoonful. I'll drink coconut water, milk, you name it.
Do you think in a way that's your subconscious is manifesting that you need to be home?
Yeah, like my subconscious and my spirit are telling me you're doing everything right. As far as you're doing as much as you can do with what you're looking at, with where you're at, and that's the one factor that I'm missing, because like they usually say it's the 3 L's of business, but I say it's the 3 L's of life too. It's location, location, location. That's very important. There's the reason why a lot of us travel. There's a lot of people that travel in different ways. For example, I was born in Texas, but my dad's from Michigan. He obviously traveled around for a minute and was like, oh, I love Texas. And I was like, I wish you would have never loved Texas. And he goes, why? And I said, because I would have rather grown up in Michigan where you did. And that happens to a lot of kids. It's not just me. People feel that way about California, even Oregon. They're like, I don't want to live here, And I'm like, you don't want to live here? I think it's all right. I don't think it's that bad. I'm like, go to Texas. a lot of times when you're helping somebody, sometimes it's best, to ask them what will help, because some people have it in their minds that they're like, oh, I'm going to help you, and they get your ideas on like what you think, what you need, and then they want to help you what they feel is going to help. They're like, oh, well, I've heard you, but I think, this is in the better interest of all groups, meaning the helping side, the side that's trying to help, and then the side that needs to help. That is a big issue, especially with me. Anybody that's outside of organizations and services that try to help me, a lot of times it's all, well, I'm going to take you to my house, and now because they give, it's a bribe. Like, I'll help you, but you just got to do things for me in order, and it ends up being a trap. So they end up trapping you with the trap. Right, and it's
really
like help
listen.
people the way, like, it's if we really listen to the person, we can all help. Because, when I worked, anytime I ever had a job, I was always, if there was a loophole and I could help somebody out, save them some money, I always did it. I was like, shh, this is the only one I worked. Papa John's? Hell yeah, I got a coupon for you. Like, rip it off the pizza box. Yeah, and I'm helping you the way I think
you need this.
Yeah, what I think you need. And it's like, no, honestly, it's very simple for someone in my situation, but it's all about what you say to who you say it to get the proper results anymore. It's not like someone's like, oh, well, I work for a law center, and you're telling me all this stuff, but you clearly have a case against this person, this person, this person, this person. It's just, really try to help. And for those that say, well, if I could do more, I would. And it's like, well, do you at least say a prayer? Do you at least pray for the person? Do you at least make an attempt to talk to them, to see how their day was going, to engage with them, just to make sure that they know? Because sometimes when we are searching, trying to find firm ground, trying to have firm ground to stand on, sometimes if somebody just talks to us, that lets us know that we're still alive. That's that one factor that can make or break somebody. Yeah, so that's like, okay, because sometimes you walk around, you're like, wait, have I died? Am I dead? And I don't even know it, because nobody's talking to me. Nobody's asking me if anything's okay. I'm crying, and nobody gives a crap. What's going on? Am I dead? And then somebody comes up, and they're just like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And they just start talking to me. And they're like, oh, I wish I could do more. If I had money, I'd give it. And I'm like, look, you just validated my existence. When nobody else would. You brought me back from that dark place I was headed, straight for, running at full speed, head for this dark place, because I just want to break down. Like, I think I'm dead. I don't think anyone actually notices that I'm alive anymore. If you ever hear, when I was in Berkeley, there was this guy one time, and I realized that with what we call wing nuts, people that are really crazy, it's usually because they don't feel like they were ever heard or listened to, that anyone ever heard them or listened to them. And there was this guy he was crossing diagonally, and this wasn't where they have the like in Chinatown in San Francisco where you can actually cross like that. No, he was just walking through traffic, and he was like, give back my shoes. And he had shoes on his feet. Well, what did I do? I took the right proper way and actually crossed, and I met him at the intersection where I saw him go, and I met him up there, and the first thing I asked was, hey brother, you hungry? He's like, oh man, I haven't eaten in 3 days, no one will feed me. But why? How did I address that? He was screaming, so I was like, okay, where's the fire? I heard him say something about his shoes, so I looked at his feet. I'm like, he's got no shoes on? He had shoes on his feet. So I was like, you know what? It's probably just madness, and he's probably hungry.